I need some.
All right, so it's 2.1. This is called linear regressions. It's the rest of the notes.
Yesterday, we can talk a little bit linear. And you can yeah, no, you got it all.
All right, so linear regressions is when you're trying to create a model from a given data set that best represents that linear function. So typically with a linear regression model, you're given points from some type of scenario or situation, and it calculates it. So we're going to learn how to do it in the calculator, not by hand. By hand, you would find every slope, take the average of the slope, and then take the average of, and then go from there. But we're going to do a little more to that than what I just said. But just for the sake of conversation, we're going to go through the steps. So first, we're going to write down the steps, and then we're going to implement the steps. Does that make sense? All right. So we're going to start with writing of the steps. No. So for linear regression, your first step is to input the data. Okay. To input the data on your calculator, you're going to press stat, the stat button. You would press stat. And then you would press 1 for edit. Okay. Once you've done that, then you're going to put your X variable and your L1 and your Y variable in L2. Okay. Any questions so far? Are you still with me? Okay. Step 2 is we're going to actually find the regression model. So we're going to find the regression model. So to find the regression model again, you're going to press stat. And then from stat, you're going to press 4. And the reason why is that's our lin reg. So our linear regression is 4.
Wait, is this something different than the first thing? Are they two different forms for two different formulas?
Just all go together.
Oh.
These are the steps you have to follow.
Okay.
Okay. And when it gives us our values, if it's not exact, we're going to round to the nearest thousandth. Okay, so we're going to round to the nearest thousandths. All right. One thing, I guess, just to make it very clear, once you get here, you want to calculate. So you're going to have to scroll down to where it says calculate. I didn't think I had to tell people that, but just to be on the safe side, you're going to go down to where it says calculate. Okay, so step 3 is you're going to write your equation. So you're going to write your equation. And to write your equation, you're going to put it into y equals. You press the y equals button. And you're going to type it into y1. Okay. Step 4, we want to make sure we can see our points, our plot. So we want to turn on our plot. So for plotting, you're going to arrow up and to where it says plot 1 and press enter. What this does is it turns on the plot. And then last but not least, to see it all come together is step 5. You're going to press the zoom button. I know you think, oh, I'm going to go to the graph. No, you're going to press zoom. And we're going to go down to zoom 9 because we want to see our stats that we put in. Zoom stat. All right. Those are our 5 steps we're going to follow. Are y'all ready? Okay, so finish getting the steps down, and then I'm gonna write up an example table for us to follow through with. Now, there are a couple little different things you can do, but for linear, it's not that terrible to write things out, so let's stick to this. As we get bigger with regression models, like when we start doing quadratics and exponentials, then we'll talk about being able to store them in the calculator. But as of right now, just for this, we're good. All right, everyone has their steps down? Cool. All right, so we're gonna do an example. So our example table is gonna be probably, I don't know why I'm drawing it like a box. I really can't tell you. All right, we're gonna have 6 values. We're gonna do 1 and 2.3, 2 and 2.7, 3, 3.1, 8, 5.1, 9, 5.5, and 10, 5.9. So those are the values that we're going to be using for our example. And we're going to follow those 5 steps that were listed. Okay. Key thing I want you to remember, especially when you're doing regression models, you want to reset your calculator. Okay. So to reset your calculator, remember it is?
Second plus 712.
Perfect. Second plus 712 is how we reset. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Let's get started. So here's my calculator. And I'm going to go second plus 712. So notice how it says clear. Can you close the door for me? If you're not following along on the phone instead of if you're following along on your phone and not doing anything, then when you get to this, you're going to struggle if you don't practice it. Not something you can just write and look at. If you don't practice it, you will not be able to do it. Okay. All right. So here we go. Step 1, step for us to do what? Stat. Stat is underneath the delete button. So we're going to press stat. We're going to go to edit. And we said we're going to input our X's in our L1s and our Y's in our L2s. So I'm going to put in 1, 3, 8, 9, 10. And then I'm putting in 2.3, 2.7, 3.1, 5.1, 5.5, and 5.9. Okay, so once you have all your values in, check with your neighbors that they have theirs and they understand what we're doing. Okay, all right, so that is the first step. What is our second step?
That again or
So we're gonna go stat, and we notice here that none of this does linear, right? You're gonna arrow over to calc, and that's where you're gonna see those other values. So we're gonna arrow over to calc. Now, do you see where it says for lin reg? Okay, so we're gonna create a linear regression. Doesn't this look like our equation of a line? So we're gonna go to 4. So I'm gonna press 4 for lin reg. So what was the key thing you wanted to look for? Calculate. Do you see where it says, is this what you want? I'm like, yeah, this is what I want. So I would scroll down to calculate, and I'm going to press enter to calculate. And it's going to think about it, and then it gives me some values. Okay, so it gives me my parameters. Do we see our parameters? A equals what? 0.4, and B equals 1.9. So I know my slope equals 0.4, and my y-intercept equals 1.9. So therefore, what's the equation of the line for this given information? Okay, so you got your parameters, you wrote your equation. How do we feel about that? Questions, comments, concerns so far? All right, next we want to graph it in the calculator. So when we graph it in the calculator, it says we're going to go to y equals. So in y equals, in y1, I'm going to put my equation. Plus 1.9. Okay? So there's where it's in. It's already there. When you press y equals to get to the y1. Okay? After that, it says to make sure your points are plotted. So to make sure your points are plotted, it says arrow up. Do you see where it says plot 1? You're going to press enter to make sure plot 1 is on. You know it's on if you arrow down and it is bold. Okay, and the last and final step to see all your work come together is to press zoom and go down to where it says 9 or just press 9 for stat. So when I press zoom stat, it's going to show my points and show that the graph that I created accurately represents my points.
Wait, should the points be dotted?
Mhm.
So wait, do we write y1 when we go to y equals?
Yes, you're typing in your y1.
Okay, are we just typing in y?
You're typing in what you got, 0.4x plus 1.9.
Then we're gonna zoom up the line. Oh, how do you get this? Oh, mine doesn't have points on.
So you didn't turn on your plot.
Oh, that makes sense.
And press enter and it makes it bold so that when you press zoom 9, it's now going to show your points and show your line. So is a linear representation the best one for this data? Yes, our line goes through all of our points. Do we see that?
Now, for 10, it's 5.7, right?
It was 5.9.
First
Oh.
stat and then just bring
Well,
it
it
up.
shows I'm confused. I think I am supposed to.
You press zoom 9. That's where zoom stat is.
That is.
Okay. How do we feel about regression models? Doable? Okay. We're going to be doing regression models throughout the year. The only difference is that notice here when you go to stat calc, there are other functions that we can make models for. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So we'll be doing quadratic models, exponential models. The models are just going to be changing, but the steps that we did are not going to change. Does that make sense? Only which regression we choose is going to change, but not the steps. Got it? All right. Questions, comments, concerns about linear regression? Is it a doable situation? Okay. So on the remaining parts of your assignment, it should be like 2. I think you have 2 tables. Is that right?
At least 20.
So as you can see, you're given the table and you have to find the model for it. And 19, you're given the table and you need to find the model for it. All right. Questions, comments, concerns? Are we good? All right. That's it for 2.1.
Is this all we're working on?
Mhm.